I can't control God.
It's a risk you're taking, you know?
I can't control the wind or God. So then
5 seconds before.
then I will call out the tour director. But I'm just saying that if the wind blows, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't control God. Talk to him.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
First, I want to put out a call for mailbag questions because I would like to have a bank of questions to record 1, maybe 2 episodes to maybe not have multiple 2-week gaps like we've had recently. I feel like we did not plan accordingly, even though lots of things were outside of our control.
Yeah.
So please, send us every question imaginable that you want us to answer. Email at thebodyserve@gmail.com. Do Twitter, Instagram, wherever we'll find it. You can find everything BodyServe related at linktree.com/thebodyserve. The last time we were with you, we had just gotten into Olympics. We talked about the opening ceremony, right?
Yes.
And there was a lot of hope.
Was
from a Jamaican viewing perspective that ended up being one of the worst Olympic Games in my lifetime.
True.
When you consider the expectations to what actually happened. Certainly, Jamaica's won fewer than 6 medals before at an Olympic Games in my lifetime, but considering that 2-3 cycles ago we were winning 13 medals, this was not fun.
And given the material.
Yes.
Right. Elaine Thompson-Herah, injured. She doubled in the 100 and 200 the past 2 Olympics. Shericka Jackson, the best 200-meter runner alive, pulled out of both 100 and 200. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, the GOAT, is denied entrance to the training area, or the warm-up area, along with Sha'Carri Richardson, and Shelly mysteriously pulls out of the 100-meter semifinals that day. And we only found out right before they were supposed to start racing.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that part now?
Might as well. Because Shane Thompson put in a great showing. Like, this isn't part of that tragedy. The tragedy is the photo finish. Jamaicans have been victims of the photo finish, apparently dating back to 1952. I found out on Twitter this week.
Yes, with Herb McKinley. Look that up. And it just seems that at every turn where there is a photo finish involving a Jamaican, it goes the opposite direction. See Merlene Ottey 1996, Atlanta. But that guy now gets to claim that he is the fastest man alive, which I don't know how that math adds up. But to me, 979, a joint 979 is not a 977.
I think that guy as a moniker is a little bit harsh for Noah Lyles, considering who we use it for in tennis. Noah won in a photo finish. He went to work with COVID, like so many of y'all apparently do now.
I mean, for me, he gives Kanye West more so than he gives Usain Bolt. Because people like to say, well, the Jamaicans showboat, they big up themselves, you know.
They big up themselves.
They don't put other people down.
Exactly.
Which is what Noah Lyles does repeatedly. And this whole, like, competing with COVID thing, actively competing with COVID thing was wild to me.
And the discourse around it was so depressing. It was like, wow,
oh my God, what a hero.
Some of you guys get really American for 2 weeks. I hope that only lasts the 2 weeks.
He found the strength to carry on. He looked inside himself.
And then, he collapsed on the track. His mom was tweeting that the medics they refused to help him, which was a bald-faced lie, of course. Apparently, she was just mad that she couldn't get on the track to help him. Did you hear about all this?
You don't have the credentials.
I know.
That's what security is there for. Meanwhile, his girlfriend, Janelle Brumfield, Jamaican TikTok and social media had a field day with this man
Yes,
and that
they did.
relationship these past 2 weeks. And yes, these are sour grapes. Yes, I'm bitter. Yes, I'm miserable. Yes, I'm bad mind. But I'm allowed. And then folks are out here on Twitter coming into my mention saying, you all had this for the last however many years. Let us have this. Let the United States of America have something? Absolutely not.
It's a strange logic, right?
Considering
The most medals, the most golds.
how many people live in your country?
Right.
722 million?
The world's biggest superpower. Listen, I'm American, but I would never say, let us have just this. Because it implies, oh, we're such a small, humble country. Give us something, please.
Yeah. And I think the one that pissed me off most was Miss Gabby
Oh, Gap.
in the 200 meters. And, you know, kudos to her. She showed up and ran her races and won them. But now I'm seeing people comparing and saying, oh, one of 5 people ever to win 3 gold medals, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, Elaine actually won 2 individual events. One of them
Right.
being an Olympic record. And also, your time was, for 2024 in a global final, pedestrian. I'm sorry.
And actually-
had the Jamaicans been in that race, had the third Jamaican been in that race,
Right, the third best.
Shelley Ann Fraser-Price's personal best is better than that time that won that final.
Yes.
Shelley did not, I mean, clearly she could not run that race. 1, because she had to pull out of the games, but also 2, she didn't qualify, or she decided not to run the 200s at the Jamaican trials.
Yeah.
Just saying. There was a vacuum, a large, cavernous space for Miss Gabby to run through. And it's in keeping with the times that she's run in other big finals of that length.
Sure, but this gold time isn't even close to her own personal best.
Yeah, I'm not saying
You
she
know-
can't run fast.
But these are not Sharika times.
She can run
Obviously.
fast, but historically she has not put her fastest foot forward when it counted
Right,
most.
right.
And she, to my mind, benefited from a flop field and a Julian Alfred who was spent, quite frankly.
Yes. But she won golds in 4x1 and 4x4. Even being able to compete in both is really impressive.
It's giving Alison Felix.
Yes.
Or it's giving Herb McKinley, if you
Oh.
do that research.
Now, Sydney McLaughlin can't really quibble with that at all.
No, that's
Nothing to say about that one.
That's wild. What that lady did
Another
is,
world record.
I thought it was supposed to be the Femke Bol show.
Poor Femke, no. And she was very upset after that final because she knew she wasn't able to give her best. But even her best.
Would not have been
Yeah.
nearly good enough.
All right. Big up Jamaica in the field events, though. This was unforeseen.
This is quite the development, because if the track component gets back on course and now we're developing world-class field athletes, watch out.
Now, you better hope that the JOC treats these athletes the right way. Because that one young woman and what she said about the JOC and the JAAA,
J3A.
and they threatened to ban her if she didn't retract those statements.
I'm telling you, this is in keeping with everything I know about local, regional, athletic management in the Caribbean, be it track, be it cricket, especially cricket. It is so parochial. It is so patriarchal. These old men get into these positions and pretend that you need to kiss the ring. How dare you? That's how so many of these organizations are run. So many great West Indian cricketers have been kicked out of the sport, have had their careers unceremoniously ended because of disagreements with some man in a position at Cricket West Indies. And that's what that feels like to me. Clearly, something is amiss here. You're not sending the resources. The coaches are ringing alarm bells, saying with the injuries, we might not even be able to field a 4x100 team in the women. Miraculously, they came fourth in that final. But this is how Bush League the administration is in Jamaican track. And it is outrageous that Jamaica's had such great success over the years, in spite of how the federations are run. And so when that lady came out here and said all those things, all of it tracked. Every last word made perfect sense to me. It's everything I knew growing up Will it change? Probably not. Because why? We little but we tell. And you know what that does? And I kept hearing it my entire childhood, especially when it comes to achievements on a global stage, be it Lisa Hanna winning Miss World in 1993 or something. Oh, we little but we tell because some woman can win a beauty pageant. Because Arthur Wint wins the 1948 400 meter event. Merlin Ottey, Veronica Campbell-Brown, Usain Bolt, Shelly Fraser-Price. All these outsized achievements from such a small country, we hang our hat on, we little but we tell, meaning that we are so little, we're a small country, 2.5 million or so people, but our achievements outpace that. We achieve above our weight class. And that's supposed to mean that we are somehow, we are greater. We are just innately great. And so people expect folks to perform at a certain level despite not getting the resources that one would typically need to be able to perform at that level. And that's where we are right now. I feel like we are at a breaking point with Jamaican track and field.
Getting into the tennis, I don't know that we were excited before the Olympics. I actually don't remember the tone of our coverage. I think I was excited just to get through it.
I guarantee you were not excited.
Okay, I don't want to be accused of being like having sour grapes now. If I'm down on Olympic tennis, because I feel like I always am.
Well, what would you be down on based on what happened?
What do you
What
think?
would have changed your prior perceived mythical good mood?
Right.
So have it
what
now.
do you think? Djokovic winning the gold medal?
Listen.
Which is something I honestly didn't see him losing. At this point, this final opportunity, I expected it to happen. I wouldn't have been surprised if Carlos won. But is it all that surprising that Djokovic won the gold? Do I care? No.
Well, that's
and that
it.
cuts both ways.
Lean into that.
I literally don't care.
Lean into don't care about that. It's so freeing.
It is. Because it's like I don't care to celebrate it, but I also don't care. It doesn't change my life. You know, I think there are some people who want us to be crying and weeping about this. It's not. It's really okay. Like, I'm not holding on to any sort of GOAT debate. That doesn't interest me. You all can have that.
I mean, he can go and have his heroes welcome in Serbia while not paying taxes there. That can happen.
Right? I mean, I will never like the guy. Nothing is going to convince me that he's cool. And I think a big part of it comes down to that. You need him to be the GOAT because he's not cool.
Wait, unpack that. You're saying he can't be the GOAT because he's not cool?
No, I'm saying that a certain segment of his fans need the GOAT thing so bad because he's not cool.
Oh, okay.
And he never will be. And that's okay.
Oh, I mean, I don't think either Rafa or Federer is cool. They're cooler.
Right.
They're all major dorks. All of them.
Sure, but they're never going to be Serena. You know,
Right,
they're never
have
even going to
swag.
be Chrissy. They're never going to be Andre. That, like,
Okay. I mean, each problematic figure is for different reasons now.
right? How dare I bring up Chrissy?
We'll get to her
More on her later.
later on.
But honestly, that's not even what I want to talk about. The cool. I don't care about the cool thing. The point is, Djokovic has gotten his white whale. He's won the gold medal in singles at the Olympics to go with his bronze from 2008. It's a great career bookend. Hopefully it is the end. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I can say I'm not a hypocrite because I previously have stated many times that I don't think the Olympic medals mean much in tennis. So
I don't either.
If it means something to him, good for him, I guess. But that adds to the blasé nature of this for me. He gets to have this last check mark, you know?
I mean...
in his career,
Yeah.
have it. I mean,
Like-
the numbers are all in his corner
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So what's
I'm not-
one more?
Nobody's here to deny that. I think like you get a tougher draw in a Masters, which is true of a lot of major runs, to be honest. It's also a best of 3, and a look at the material. Aside from playing one of the world's best players, Alcaraz, in the final, you play Musetti in the semis, who played an absolutely brainless, stunningly brainless match. Truly amazing, actually. You played a doubles player with no singles ranking in the first round. You got to end your greatest rival's career in the second round. Do you think Stefanos was really going to beat Djokovic here? No, that was not going to happen.
Congrats to that man, and we move on.
Yeah, we got Nadalcaraz doubles.
Can I stop you? Something happened in the last couple months where you have leaned in to the Alcaraz pronunciation.
Oh, it's because that guy on British commentary was railing hard against like the native pronunciations.
I guess if you really want to get into it, you could say Alcaraz or Alcaraz or.
Yes, you remember that, Kiki?
Yes.
So now I'm just gonna say it the proper way, or as closely as I can do it.
Do you know what we need to correct going forward?
What?
We have been saying Miss Schneider's name wrong. It's
What is it?
Deanna.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do that.
That makes sense.
It does. When I saw it, I
Diana,
was like, of course this makes sense.
a
I
very-
should have known better.
It's a very English pronunciation of that, yeah.
I also just never quite remember that she's Russian. For some reason, I think she's German. But she's Russian.
I guess she has kind of a German look to her. She also went to university in the US.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she's used to being called Diana.
On the women's side, the bust-out breakout star Zheng Wen wins gold, and she's about to be a very rich lady. Very rich.
Indeed.
Stinkingly rich.
A lot of people felt that her Australian Open runner-up finish was a fluke because the level of competition just wasn't there. But she beat Iga at Roland Garros. I realize it wasn't at the French Open, but...
At Roland Garros at the Olympics.
Yes.
Miss Swiatek succumbed to some pressure here at this tournament.
Yeah.
Bronze medalist. There's no shame in that. Did you see this whole discourse about whether you'd prefer to win a silver medal or a bronze medal?
I did, and the only people who can answer that are the athletes themselves, in my opinion. Well, how would I know?
The idea being, if you win a silver medal, your last moment at the Olympic Games competitively is a loss. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you win a bronze medal, you're playing a third place playoff, and your last moment, even though you lost in the semifinals, it's a win. So you get to have a win, and then you get to collect your medal.
Right. And as if you're a hardcore tennis fan, you're looking at this and saying, well, you lost in the semis. Great, good job, you made the semis. That's it. We see the only winner as the winner. But I understand the difficulty of losing a match and then turning around and coming out the next day and having to fight again for a medal. Because in tennis, when you lose, you get to go home.
Yeah.
Or you're on to the next city.
Courtney Nguyen asked Vika about that in DC, and she said it was very difficult
I
when
bet.
she won bronze in 2012 to come back and play another match. I want to say, spare a thought for the fourth place finisher. You too made a semifinal. Why don't you get another match? Can't you win like a copper medal or something?
I know. Who was that? Schmidlova?
Well, I mean, I feel
It was,
like
right?
Schmidlova winning a medal at this tournament would have been
Par for the Olympics?
par for the course, but also a lot.
Well, I feel like there's a little Venus fan bias going on there. Because that woman, so she's been around forever, right? Schmidlova. And she terrorized Ms. Elder Williams in those like mid-2010 years.
We saw her play at the Rogers Cup one year, was that
Really?
Begu?
No,
it was
that was
Begu. Begu.
Ugh.
That's another one.
That's another.
Another one was Angie Kerber.
Angie Kerber beating Naomi Osaka, first of all, in straight sets. And after having announced that this was going to be her final tournament, reaches the quarterfinals on a surface that she does not like.
The one she needed for the career slam. Couldn't get it. We saw Naomi push Iga in the second round at the French Open. And so back at the scene of the crime, she gets run over by Angie.
And since then, like since pushing Iga so hard, so many of us had a lot of optimism for the rest of the season.
Here comes the hard court swing.
Well, now we're on hard courts.
It looks dire.
She beat Ons in Toronto.
An injured
Right.
Ons, who since pulled up
Yeah.
from Cincinnati.
Lost to, I can't remember.
In Toronto, I was at that match until it was 4-3. It was Mertens.
Oh, yeah. Mertens then goes to Cincinnati to play qualifying, which I love.
Yes.
I absolutely love that move.
She should send a postcard in the mail to Wozniacki and tell her what her experience was like.
Sure.
And extol the virtues of
Right.
playing some qualifying
Try it.
matches.
Wins her first against Blinkova and then loses in 3 against Ashlyn Kruger in the second round qualifying in Cincinnati. So things are looking a little tough right now for Miss Osaka. Return game just needs
Non-existent.
improvement.
I don't
Yeah.
recall it being this bad,
No.
to be honest. And also, I don't. I remember being on this show talking about how great her movement was on clay. Where's that?
I don't know. We didn't really talk about Nadalcaraz.
This is kind of all over the place.
It is, yeah.
And that's fine. I'm totally okay with just riffing through this right now.
Carlos, love to see it. Love to see the enthusiasm. He is not a doubles player.
It
yet.
showed.
He may be someday, but he is certainly not one right now. Rafa, for a lot of those first few matches, Rafa was was really leading the team. And then he'd go on spurts where he would miss a lot of forehands, miss off the ground a lot. And it just looked like this is rusty. This team doesn't really know how to work well together. Rafa was clearly the leader, as he should be.
He was Mr. Bossy Pants.
Which he loves to do.
He was daddy. And Carlos was very eager to please daddy
Right.
in this duo. There's this narrative going around that Carlos was easily the weaker link in this pairing. And I don't know that that's the case
Okay.
from what I saw. I think Rafa played better. I don't think that Rafa played great.
Right.
You know, I think maybe they overperformed by making the quarterfinals, frankly, at this tournament.
Probably. They beat the number 6 seed in their first match. And then going into the quarterfinals, having to face Krajicek and Rom. Come on. Like, Krajicek is a former doubles number 1. I can't recall if Rom has been number 1, but he's a silver medalist before.
Oh, a silver medalist? Where's a choke from Rajiv Ram in the Olympics when you need it?
Exactly. Well, in this one, they needed a lot of chokes because it wasn't close.
That sounds like fanfic.
What?
Hello.
Wow.
Well, it is 9:37 p.m. as of this recording. This
Yeah.
is TBS After Dark.
Let's get into the allegedly badly behaved trio of American women. My allegedly is for the trio, not for the badly behaved part. Because I highly object to putting Coco in this group. We've got Coco, Danielle Collins, and Emma Navarro. And there were many, many stories written about, oh, these American women in tennis this year. It's so embarrassing.
All of a sudden, they get on the Olympic stage and they don't know how to
They're
act.
acting like brats. And I'm like, wait, I thought tennis loved brats.
I thought this was Brad Summer.
See, there's levels to this.
Is that the title?
No, actually, tennis only likes male brats. I forgot.
I thought it was male rats.
That too. Coco, I don't believe she should be part of this because her issue was with an umpire. She was arguing a call. She may or may not have been wrong based on the replay. I still don't think it was conclusive. People who watched the replay with the audio say that she was completely in the wrong. Fine. I don't think it was 100% conclusive watching it back. You know, she kind of accused the umpire, like, you guys always do this to me here, especially here. And it wasn't her finest moment, but I don't begrudge her for being annoyed. And the thing is that's just a call. That's something that players do all the time. They argue calls. They're wrong frequently.
Yeah.
But what Danielle and Navarro did was totally different than what Coco did.
Zheng Qinwen won this gold medal despite
She
a barrage.
I'll tell you, she won this gold medal 3 or 4 rounds back.
These women besmirched her character Listen, this woman has had her coach stolen from her. And still she rises.
Oh no. Okay. Emma Navarro, first of all, there are a lot of people out here who don't even know what she looks like. But she comes...
Are you one of them?
Not anymore. But she comes out of nowhere with this personality we didn't know she had and said she doesn't respect Qinwen as a competitor. And Emma said that she told Qinwen that at the net. And she went on to say, I think she goes about things in a pretty cutthroat way. I have to ask, what the hell happened for you to say something like that? And Zheng claimed that Navarro told her, quote, she doesn't know how I have a lot of fans.
That's a pretty easy answer.
That is so rude.
She's the Chinese #1. A global superstar in markets that Miss Emma, despite her billions, will never know.
And she's cool. There's that word again. You can't really put a price on that. She's just cool.
She has a je ne sais quoi. She has a charisma. She's got an it factor. You know?
Yeah. But Zheng struck back and said, I will not consider it an attack because she lost the match. She said, I look cuter than you making your exit right now.
That was a read.
Yeah.
And expertly done. This is what should happen. Do not be bothered. Let her know that she is no longer relevant and move on.
And it's in a great tradition of tennis reads like that. It's giving... Isn't she back in Poland? Remember that?
Speaking of Poland...
Oh, no.
Zheng goes on to beat Świątek in the semifinals. Straight sets.
She does. Iga is fresh off this interesting clash against Danielle Collins, a highly competitive match. Danielle starts to get annoyed by what she perceives as gamesmanship, as some unsportsmanlike activities on Iga's side of the net.
You can imagine what they were. We've been down this road before.
Right. They got into it, well, not really. There's never a back and forth. Danielle got into it.
Yeah.
Because she said Iga puts up her racket and she holds up the server, which she does. Everybody sees that happens very frequently. And Danielle said, you have to play at the server's pace. And was speaking directly to Iga at that moment. So then, Iga takes a long break after the second set, as she does, totally within the rules.
And also at this point, you know this is happening.
Yeah.
You've got to be prepared for this. You did not close out the match in the second set. You know the break is coming. And then apparently an injury comes as well, early in the third set.
So Danielle also takes a long injury timeout. She has to go in the back. It's something they're not going to treat out on court. It turns out that it's an abdominal issue. She retires midway through the third set. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, she's faking the injury. And then even after she retired, people were saying, well, she just didn't want to lose. She quit.
That was crazy.
That is wild.
That's crazy.
Because, first of all, look who you're talking about.
That is fandom as a disease.
It is. You're talking about Danielle Collins, who has very well-publicized, well-documented health issues that she has chosen to share with us. Why would you ever assume this woman, of all people, is faking an injury?
Turns out she has to pull out of Toronto, then she pulls out of Cincinnati. This is her farewell season,
right.
And she's missing 2 back-to-back Masters 1000 events. Not great.
So do you think she was faking that too? Faking it to pull out?
What I don't understand is her claim she leveled at Iga, saying that she's kind of pretending to be concerned about her injury.
Oh, okay. So they meet at the net. Danielle says something that clearly has Iga shook.
Initially, a lot of folks were like, oh, what a nice moment at net. And I'm like,
And again, I ask you, do you talk to people in real life?
That was not a cute moment. That was not a cutesy.
Like, is it the same people who thought the Fritz and Zverev moment was a cutesy moment?
And there's that moment where Iga realizes what's happening and her facial expression changes when you run back the slow-mo.
Yeah. Later on, Iga and Danielle tell pretty much the same story about what Danielle told her.
Collins tells reporters after the match that she told Iga, quote, she didn't have to be insincere about my injury. There are a lot of people with a ton of charisma and come out and are one way on camera and another way in the locker room. Part of why this didn't make sense to me is, what does Danielle think Iga is giving on camera? Like in public. You know, like,
Okay, yeah.
She's not this incredibly charismatic person on court. She's kind of weird
Right.
on court. If she had said that about somebody like Coco, then I'd be like, damn, what's Coco like in the locker room? Because I get what Coco's like on court.
Right.
But that profile doesn't fit Miss Swiatek on court for me.
No. I felt like it was unkind of her to say, basically, don't give me your fakeness. When somebody retires with injury, you come over and you shake their hand and you say, oh, sorry, is everything okay? To be faced with that kind of hostility afterward, I think is unfair. And I know you probably think we agree with everything Danielle Collins does and says, but this is an instance where
We do not.
she was really unkind.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary.
Anything else you want to say about Olympic singles?
No, not really.
Who is the men's bronze medalist? Oh, of course. Musetti beats Felix.
Right. Felix had a really good event, though. He won, what was it, bronze in mixed with Gabby Dabrowski.
Mm-hmm.
Felix is very good when he plays for Canada. Otherwise,
The number one mixed doubles team loved it. Loved it.
wow.
The incredible pairing of that guy and that woman.
That
number
guy
one
and
team.
Ziegemund.
They go down in the first round to Siniakova and Mahach.
Talk about a difficult draw for a number one seed. Can you the winner of the past two slams in mixed, Siniakova, with her not ex boyfriend, Tomas Mahach.
Been together for a while, broke up, now they're back at the Olympics, now they're sharing a kiss on the cheek, and now they're being coy in press. They've shown up in Cincinnati per TMZ tennis reporter Ben Rothenberg, sharing a car in Cincinnati. Mahach says that their relationship is, quote, top secret. And Katerina says, quote, we like it when you are confused.
They announced their breakup in Prague, which was the event right before the Olympics. So if they broke up, it did not last long. Well, I mean, I should say, if they're back together, then the breakup didn't last that long.
We see this all the time. We saw Gem's Life. We saw Tsitsidosa. These breakups and then back togethers in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. You can't dodge your tennis partner. If you're dating a tennis person, you will see them.
Well, especially if you've committed to play mixed doubles with them at the Olympics. Siniakova is having one of the best seasons, if not the best, out of anyone on any tour. Is it right? Is that wrong?
Sure, when you mix everything together, yeah.
Okay. 2 majors in a row, Roland Garros and Wimbledon, both in women's doubles. I think I said mixed earlier. That was wrong. Both women's doubles. The Prague title, Dubai title, reunion with Krejcikova, and the Olympic gold medal in mixed to go with her gold medal in women's doubles from Tokyo. Pretty good.
Quite a few people played their final match at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being Andrew Barron Murray. And he pulled out of singles before the tournament started. Ended up playing doubles with Dan Evans. A couple of matches where they saved 722 match points. And it was like, this is the perfect encapsulation of Andy Murray's career. And you're wondering, how much longer can this continue?
That was 7 match points across their first 2 matches. They were down 9-4 in the match tiebreak against the Japanese team, Nishikori and Taro Daniel.
Okay.
Apologies to Mr. Daniel. I only remembered K.
A resurgent Kei Nishikori making the quarterfinals in Montreal.
Yes.
Hello.
Beating Tsitsipas.
Andy has this moment. Of course, we know he's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. London and Rio. That 2016 season damn near cost him his career. He's able to end his career at this tournament, have a few more cute moments, and now, for you, mercifully, it's over.
For me. No, don't put that out there.
Own it.
I'm glad he got to end it where he wanted to. I'm glad that he was healthy. They got some great moments on court. They run up against the American team, Fritz and Paul, and lose in the quarterfinals. Now, on the day that Andy retired, what was his mom doing?
What were so many people in tennis doing? It was quite literally one of the darkest days in tennis. It was a shit show. It was so embarrassing for so many people.
And others from tennis were participating in a worldwide defamation campaign against a woman boxer.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're all familiar with the story at this point, the story that penetrated the global Olympic discourse. We're now going to situate it how it related to tennis.
The Algerian boxer Imane Khelif, who is now the gold medalist in women's boxing, became the center of this quote-unquote gender controversy after the Italian boxer Angela Carini pulled out of their match after 46 seconds and said, she knew what she was doing. She said she had never been hit so hard by anyone and, quote, I had to preserve my life in that moment.
Doesn't this cut to the core what those who are anti-trans women participating in sport fear? If you were to create a campaign to assist your movement, this would have been it. And didn't they all take the bait? Mm-hmm. J.K. Rowling.
Elon Musk.
Martina Navratilova. Chrissy Evert. Andrei Rublev.
Why are you here?
Judy Murray.
And I'm sure a lot of other people, I don't know who the turf royalty is outside of the people I regularly see in the tennis world. But this went far and wide. There's a misconception that transphobia is only a MAGA thing in the US. No, this is very much, there's a segment of so-called feminists who this becomes like a religion to them. Now, Khelif is not trans, but their behavior is in keeping with how they police gender in general. The International Boxing Association, the IBA, claims that they conducted a DNA test and they found that Khelif supposedly has XY chromosomes. Now, this has never been substantiated. We've never seen evidence of this test. The IBA has been banned by the IOC. The agency has been completely discredited internationally. Its president was on social media this week calling the IOC sodomites, saying they engaged in devilry.
Totally normal stuff.
I didn't see this press conference, but apparently their press conference made things even worse. So what do we actually know? Not very much. We know that Khelif had been disqualified in 2023 by the IBA for failing these unspecified gender tests. They said it was chromosomes and high testosterone. They claim that she's XY. People have said out here that they've said very confidently that she's intersex. We do not know that. All we know is that she's not transgender, that she is a cis woman, that she was assigned female at birth, and she has lived as a woman her entire life.
J.K. Rowling, who tweets every single day about trans people, she said, quote, the smirk of a male who knows he's protected by a misogynist sporting establishment, enjoying the distress of a woman he's just punched in the head and whose life's ambition he's just shattered. This is deeply ugly stuff.
What life experiences bring you to say that about someone? To read that into a photo?
Judy Murray jumps on it, the day of Andy's retirement, mind you, and tweets, quote, this should never have been allowed to happen. Bring back the swab test. Sport has to be fair and safe for biological women. Chris Evert quotes that and says, this picture says it all. The picture being one that features Khelif.
And I'm glad that Chrissy brought it to that incredibly disgusting level because it lays bare what the logical conclusion is to this transphobic logic, right? This is a movement that a lot of people get swept up in because they feel like they're promoting fairness in women's sports. And this is where it lands. Where it lands is Martina Navratilova sharing tweets that say trans people are rapists. Prominent female athletes looking through photos of our fellow human beings and deciding whether they're male or female by a photo. This is called transvestigation, derisively. Mm-hmm. But I just want you to think about how incredibly dehumanizing that is. To look at someone's photo and say, oh, no, that's a man.
It makes me wonder how they go about their daily lives with people that they interact with on a daily basis. You walk down the street or you're in a meeting and you come across somebody and you're like, well, that must be a trans woman.
Right.
Has to be, because they phenotypically do not meet my standard, society's standard of what a woman looks like. How offensive and rude is that?
But how polluted must your mind be to think like that? And the thing is, this convention, right, of looking at visuals of other people and determining their gender based on what you think gender presentation looks like, it also has to be public because humiliation is very much part of the point. So they felt that Imane Khelif was a man who was trying to beat up women and win a gold medal for it. So they must humiliate her.
Their leader, J.K. Rowling, led the cause, and then they're now pointing to the picture as proof. How can a picture prove biology? It literally makes no sense.
Well, because you're saying that this person doesn't look like a woman, therefore they cannot be a woman. The same logic was applied to cis women throughout the ages. And of course it's amplified in sport because a lot of female athletes don't look like your typical woman off the street. But guess what? A lot of male athletes, they don't look like men off the street. Do you know a lot of guys who look like LeBron James? Right? Do you like the thing is, women are so policed. Somehow this is lost on this small branch of so-called feminism, right? That women's bodies are so incredibly policed in general that anyone who looks outside of the norm is called a man. But you're doing the same thing, right? In the name of allegedly preserving justice in sport.
Is it any surprise, looking back, that Serena went through what she went through? Not just in life or sport, but within tennis. And the people who talk about tennis, who still talk about tennis over the decades, this incestuous cohort of commentariat.
Mm-hmm. Now, the usual suspects weren't saying this stuff back then.
No, but were they thinking it? I don't know.
Perhaps.
I don't know. Like it, I see this now, and that makes me wonder. How did you contribute to an unwelcoming environment for Venus and Serena back in the day? We know some of the things that were said publicly. We know Chris's letter. We know how that was coded with many, 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 many things.
But we also know that people called Mauresmo a man. People said the same thing about Navratilova. But Martina says that never happened. For her, it's impossible. It never happened for her. Because people only say that about you if you're attempting to get one over, right? The people she is talking about, she perceives as criminalized. She puts them in this position of trying to infiltrate women's sports, take it over, beat up women. The people she accuses, she views as criminals. So she could never have been accused in the same way, right? That doesn't enter her mind.
And so when Angela Carini says, I had to preserve my life in that moment, that's the perfect entryway. That's giving people license to just run wild, run amok. And that's what we saw.
What's really upsetting, well, one of the many things that's upsetting is how opportunistically they glommed onto violence against women and painted this as this man is trying to beat up women. And the reason I'm speaking out is because I'm against violence against women. That's something that Andrei Rublev said. Where were they? Where was Martina and Chrissy when male tennis players were convicted of violence against women? Martina's former doubles partner, Leander Paes. Hello? I'm not even talking about that one that we always talk about. He's not the only one.
And with Martina specifically, we've heard privately and publicly that, oh, well, she's in a precarious position at Tennis Channel, back with Gimmelstab, with that guy, whatnot, has to toe the line, can't really speak too much, but yet.
Toe what line? I mean, she's far more radical than them on this issue, you know?
On this issue that she's taken up as her...
As her, like, pet project.
Right, but you're saying, where were you when all this other stuff was going on?
Oh, exactly. Well, if you claim
and I'm saying
that it's about violence against women.
We were supposed to give her some grace because she was in a tough position then.
Interesting.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I want to know what Andy Murray thinks about this. I do, because he's not beyond cancellation for me. He's done so much for women in sport, women in tennis. His voice has been...
Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about Andre.
Andy Murray.
Oh, got it.
I want to know what he thinks about what his mother has been doing. That's it. I just want to know.
Okay. You said this to me privately, and I was like, I don't really want to go there. But I don't think there's anything wrong with going there. I just don't want to put that responsibility on him when he has never associated himself with those opinions.
That's his mother.
Yeah, it is his mother.
Period.
And as you've seen this week, sometimes you can cast off the parent and move on.
Rublev goes on this whole tangent and then retracts almost immediately. Well, I don't know the timing of it, but very quickly afterward retracts it. And then he's asked about it in DC Press by Ben Rothenberg. And he was like, I was wrong, and so I took it down. Ben then questioned him about the obvious correlation to that guy, his bestie. Because when I and so many people saw Rublev tweet all that, talking about how violence against women is so bad, this is terrible, and it's like, what is...
Well, where have you been, babe? Have you been asleep?
What are you missing here? Apparently, he answered that, or engaged with that line of questioning, per Ben, quite extensively, and we are going to hear more about that sometime in the future. Now, the politics of this, what Angela Carini did, is it that dissimilar from White Woman Tears?
It's not. It's actually the same thing. She lost. This is boxing. I personally don't like boxing. I don't enjoy it.
You're not a pugilist?
I don't like watching people getting punched. But she got hit in the head and said, I'm calling it off. This lady is a man. And by the way, first of all, Angela is a cop, which made me chuckle to no end. And secondly, she has been like key with her fascist prime minister and her little minions. She's not innocent in all of this. And so after she sets off this firestorm that is incredibly damaging to this woman, who's still in the tournament, by the way.
This happened all within 48 hours. Imagine the biggest international shitstorm that you just unwillingly get wrapped up in while you're competing at your sport's pinnacle event.
And people are calling you an abuser of women.
This is
for
48
playing
hours.
your sport.
And it started by this one woman. Just as quickly, she now says, well...
Oops.
Well...
She says, oh, I wish I could take it back. And I want Imane to win. And I would apologize to her if she let me. Girl, are you for real? No. Ms. Khelif is at the lawyer's office right now, about to sue a bunch of you assholes for defamation. Because listen, this is not the United States. Remember, Joanne Rowling, who constantly threatens people with frivolous defamation lawsuits. It's much easier to win a defamation suit in the UK.
She's been conspicuously absent in recent days. The only one who retracted anything was Andrei Rublev in tennis. The only one.
So I guess some credit where it's
No,
due.
it's just an observation.
For Andre, this is not a religion. For the other people involved, it is. This is a cult. This is something they have been radicalized into. And it's a slippery slope. From what I've read, it's very easy. You just go down the rabbit hole. And you've seen it with, Martina and Joanne, of course. But Chrissy resisted
Can you not use my mother's name like that? I know she doesn't go by
She
it.
doesn't go by her name. So, okay.
Please.
J.K., the author of Harry Potter.
It's a very nice name.
Yeah. But Chrissy was somebody who was not involved for a long, long time. Maybe she was resisting the call. I don't know.
Was she recruited?
But she was not involved in this discourse. But now that she is, you see how fast it takes hold? And people, I think, bring their own unique prejudices to this. I mean, I don't know how you go from not being involved at all to saying, oh, in that picture, that looks like a fucking man. In front of the whole world. You're one of the most important female athletes to ever live. And this is what you have chosen to spend your golden years doing.
I don't want to sound ageist here, because I too am now an old. I think officially in like 7 days. What is it? I become an old. And I know my place in the world, in that the way I view the world, I try to keep up. I try to listen to people for my own opinions. But part of that is listening to younger generations and trying to understand how they view the world. Because they are the ones who will shape the way the world functions long after I'm in my dotage, if I make it, you know? And so for me to be in my 60s, 70s, and trying to use my worldview to shape policy that affects young people now, that's wild. I think it's one of the greatest problems with term limits in politics and having like elder statesmen like creating and stateswomen creating policy that affect people's lives, because society changes, it evolves, and we don't always evolve with it, but somehow we are always the ones with the power to oppress people, you know, and we always denigrate young people as having, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't have the life experience. To me, that's foolhardy. To me, that is bad. It's malpractice societally.
Okay, I have a few more things to say, and then we'll move on. One thing, and this bears repeating, is that this type of attack will always end with victimizing cis women. Looking closely at how people dress, what their face looks like, width of their shoulders, I don't know the kind of wacko science these people are doing, but it will always victimize cis women, which is allegedly against what they're trying to do. Second, this type of gender testing, transvestigation, etc., always disproportionately impacts Black women and women from Africa or Asia, women who are not white. Of course, the most famous example, Caster Semenya, a lot of African and Black women have been subject to this kind of treatment.
When you're saying, just look at the picture, you're saying the person in that picture does not look like the white, blonde, blue-eyed ideal of femininity. And that necessarily puts the majority of the world's population at risk. And so when you're pretending like your crusade is to protect women and that sport participation for cis women is at such great risk, again, it's whatever risk you perceive, it's infinitesimal. But the real lived repercussions are for all these women around the world, hundreds of thousands, millions even, who look at this story and see the way it's played out and see and hear the things that have been said and written and again are othered.
While this incident was about Imane Khelif, who is a cis woman, it was not about a trans person. It is, at its heart, transphobic. Transphobia and white supremacy are in constant conversation with each other. The problem with sports is that human biology doesn't really map clearly to two genders, two sexes. It just doesn't. We've seen way too many exceptions for you to believe that. The rate of intersex individuals or people with sexual difference is not rare by any stretch of the imagination. The thing is, we've created men's and women's sports, and we have an interest in keeping women's sports as fair as possible, and we share that interest. But when certain women are seen as being too strong or tall or powerful, or they have too deep a voice, or their face looks a certain way, they're no longer women. Society, or whoever deems who is male or female, has decided those women are unwomaned. And I don't know what the solution is. Sports is extremely messy. These categories that we've built are extremely messy. But this certainly is not the solution.
And again, while all this is carrying on, BJK is just out here being the stateswoman.
taking pictures with Flavor Flav and Snoop, and just enjoying her 80s as she should.
But also not out of the loop.
No,
Like she's existing up there, but she's still in the mix when it
Because-
comes to making statements about things.
she knows she could be a part of this.
There's
And,
I guarantee you,
No doubt she has been asked.
to this day, I maintain that image, that video of her and Martina sitting beside each other, I think at Wimbledon, and they seem to be having a heated argument, was right when Martina was in the mix of this whole mess, right? I guarantee you Billy was dressing her down about that.
You think
That's
so?
what I think.
Martina has criticized her publicly for not being a part of the anti-trans movement. Billie Jean knows her place in tennis history. She has decided she's not going to spoil her legacy with this.
That's kind of giving the impression that, well, maybe she might be a little bit anti-trans, but she's not gonna...
Well, that's not what I meant. Right, I don't know how she
Yeah.
feels. I have to take that at face value, that she feels it's unjust. But while Billie Jean is just hanging out with Flavor Flav, an actual champion of women's sports, by the way,
Imagine
someone who
that.
funds women's sports,
Saving Red Lobster
Her-
and saving women's sports.
her scions, her successors, are spending their time doing this. And that's just really pathetic.
That's the overall feeling I took from that day. It was just so deeply depressing. The National Bank Open, formerly the Rogers Cup, happened. You went on Tuesday night. I went all day Thursday. People always assume that because tennis happens in Toronto, we always go and we spend a lot of time there. We've never been credentialed for that tournament.
No. So we're always buying tickets.
I mean, this is not to say that we've tried.
No, that's true. That this wasn't like sour grapes.
It just so
We've
happened
never
that
applied.
It just so happened that back in the day we got a foot in Cincinnati way back in like 2015, 2016, and we could never do both. And
Yeah.
since it was a bigger tournament, the men and women were at the same tournament, that made more sense to us.
We go pretty much every year. I think the logic has been it's more interesting to like try to go to a new tournament and spend a lot of time there rather than like I'm not going to take a week off in my home city
No.
to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway,
And
we gotta
also,
work.
no, we've been doing the US Open now the last couple of years, and I'm going to be there again for 3 days this year. I think the opening Monday to Wednesday. And so taking time off to do another tournament in August, it's always an August conundrum as well. It just makes sense to play it by ear. And depending on the weather, can you imagine taking time off,
The weather sucks.
taking time off for your home tournament? Weather sucks. You know, it's...
Draw is really impacted by the Olympics. Yeah.
Anyway.
So I went Tuesday, and then I got sick. Unfortunately, that's not a causal relationship. I didn't go again because I wasn't feeling well. I got to see Townsend beat Yastremska, who retired in the second set. I got to meet a TBS listener. That was exciting. Listeners, sorry.
Shout out to one of our Tonys.
Yeah, one of the Tonys. I saw Bianca play Tsurenko. What the hell? First of all,
This is another thing. Going to tennis in Toronto means you're gonna be burdened with a night session with a Canadian. And when it's the woman, it's always Bianca or Layla playing 3 hours and 3 sets. And
Yes.
I do not have time for that
but
anymore.
I'll watch Bianca. She's exciting to watch no matter what's happening. The woman is theater. And even when she makes me mad, like there's no denying that. Sorry, the fact that Bianca was down love 5 in the third, then mounts this incredible comeback, and then Tsurenko just serves it out, I think, for 6-4 with no drama. It was a very strange match. The thing with Toronto, I've never heard a stadium so loud. Like, I've never heard a show court in any tournament I've ever been to so consistently loud. Except maybe Arthur Ashe, but it's giving the same vibe.
Right, but not in unison watching the tennis.
No, it's just constant
being yappa,
chatter,
yappa, yappa, yappa.
Like, I swear people are not paying attention at all.
Thursday night, Sabalenka was playing
Yuan.
Yuan, yeah. And the boxes just wouldn't shut up. And so one dude who was near me turned and screamed at them, "Can you guys please shut up?" And he said it like 2 more times. And then the crowd who was trying to watch it applauded. And then a game later, the chair had to say, "Could you all up there keep your voices down, please?" And that was the loudest of a applause of the night.
Right. But the thing is, the boxes aren't listening. So even if the umpire says that,
No.
they're not listening.
Which is why the guy said it 3 times. He finally got some people's attention that time.
I think after many, many years of going to the tournament, I think it's just a design problem.
Of the
rather
stadium?
than a human problem.
Of the stadium?
Yeah. You can't get these people to shut up. So what's the solution? Is there no solution? I mean, do you not allow any corporate boxes? No, there's too many boxes.
Those boxes have their windows open. They need to have the windows locked.
Okay.
For one, if they're going to be yapping. I know in the past I've always told folks, if you're coming to Rogers Cup, go to Montreal.
National Bank Open.
Whatever. I have increasing fondness for the Toronto venue now, I think, year to year, because I think they've made great improvements.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into what those all are right now.
But also now that the subway, since 2017, goes all the way there, it was extended. It's not a bad trip. I mean, it takes a long-ass time, but you're on one line from downtown.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And if you drive, it can be shorter, and you can park by the TTC parking lot and spend $7, as opposed to $30 to $50 for parking. Crazy.
Right. Anywhere else.
Yeah. Who did we see? You talked about who you saw.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot, honestly.
I saw Amanda Nisimova, finalist, beat your fave, Dasha. Of course, Amanda makes the final, losing to Jessica Pegula, who defends her title.
The first time someone's defended a Canada title since Martina Hingis.
Well, that's a fact I didn't know, nor did I know I needed it.
Another fact, Amanda wins against 4 top 20 players in the same tournament for the first time in her career.
It seems she's back. Like back.
I mean, I would say this was a considerable surprise, though. Her run to the final.
Sure, but I mean, this is a woman who's still only 22 years old.
Yep.
I saw, of course, Ostapenko. If I'm at a tournament and she's playing, I'm going to see some of it.
Right.
I saw her beat Badosa. Badosa was clearly struggling with injury at the end of that match. I wanted to see Taylor Townsend, but she was done with her match in a flash that day.
That was Stakusic, right?
Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing with tennis and matchups, Taylor Townsend was a lucky loser. This was like, Black China was Tiger Pum Pum. The Spice...
Mm-hmm. The mix-up?
Yes, the Spice mix-up with a Kardashian and all those people there. So Townsend loses to not Mira, but Erica Andreeva in qualifying. She gets into the tournament as a lucky loser. And then Taylor wins her first match to play the winner of Stakusic and Andreeva. Stakusic wins, and then Taylor blitzes Stakusic. Right? Like, you just never know what's going to happen. Poor Marina, she has a double fault problem. She served double digits again today in Cincy qualifying. Double digits in Toronto as well. I was watching that match. Well, I was following that match. I think it was against Andreeva. And there was rain that day and all these delays. And every time I checked the app, I swear it said double fault Stakusic. Oh. And so by then, I was like, how many double faults does she have? And it turned out to be like 15.
But you know what she also has? A BJK cup. And not everybody has that. Taylor demolished Ostapenko.
Ooh.
To reach the quarterfinals and her career-high singles ranking of number 53.
If she has a couple wins in Cincy, she'll be top 50 for the first time in her career. She made the decision to drive all night to get to Mason, Ohio, from Toronto, to then win 2 straight set singles qualifying matches and is now in the main draw again in Cincinnati. So she's on the up and up. Up.
As we know, there are no direct flights from Toronto to Cincinnati.
That's not true anymore.
Oh, really?
It's not. Last I checked, Air Canada flies to Kentucky.
Oh, well, that's
which
where
is
their airport is, right?
CV something. What is it?
Covington. Yeah.
area,
I
the
don't
airport
know. I
code
don't
or
know what it's
whatever.
called.
No, that's recent. It's like a 2-hour flight.
Well, Taylor couldn't get a direct. So they rented a car, drove through the night, she slept in the car, and she had to play a qualifying match at 5 p.m. We've done that drive many times.
I don't know how I did that drive by myself. I doubt I could do it
Yeah.
anymore. Deanna Schneider, semifinalist in Toronto. The other semifinalist, Ms. Emma Navarro. I saw a lot of
She's
folks
back.
really worried about a billionaire final in Toronto. On the men's side, Alexei Popyrin is a Masters 1000 champion. Let that sink in. Who is the most, I would say, unlikely winner, or I should say least celebrated, accomplished men's Masters 1000 winner since Urkach? Am I going
And
with
even then,
I feel like this is
it's surprising.
it's quite a result. Good for that man, beating Rublev in straight sets in the final. Rublev said this week that he had been dealing with depression for months or even longer, and that was the reason for his outbursts on court. I'm not being flippant when I said that. That's pretty much what he said, saying that for whatever reason, whatever control he had over his life, he couldn't have it on a tennis court. And so he felt more in control this week in Montreal.
But Popyrin, look at the material. Beats number 11 Ben Shelton straight sets, Grigor Dimitrov, Urkach.
Oh,
the other guy
Urkach.
you said wasn't a deserving Masters winner.
I swear
you didn't say
I
deserving.
swear to you, when this draw was out, when the draw was falling apart, I said, watch, this is another Ubi Masters 1000. Watch.
And then Korda and Rublev. I mean, it's a great run.
It really
is.
So there is no asterisk.
No.
None whatsoever.
Were you asking me or telling me?
No, I'm telling.
There's no such thing as an asterisk.
Well, there's that, but I gave the impression kind of that there was. Before.
Except 61.
Maris.
The most famous asterisk?
Or 23.
20. Wait. What does Margaret have? 24.
What does she have?
24.
Whatever
right?
she has, that's the asterisk.
Yeah. Wow. I thought you were asterisking Serena. They're about
Why
to
do I
fight.
feel like they're tied? They're not.
Novak.
Court has 24.
Novak
Novak
and
is now.
Margaret
Oh,
are tied.
Oh my god.
Denis Shapovalov was defaulted in Washington for apparently swearing at a spectator. Both Ben Shelton and Dennis were shocked when this happened. It was on a match point anyway, right? The match was almost over. But apparently a spectator said something to him. He had already smashed his racket. He got a code for unsportsmanlike conduct. He cursed at the spectator. It wasn't even one of his better curses. And the umpire called the supervisor onto court. The umpire decided to default him. It was a little surprising.
It felt like a lot.
It did.
Given what we see on a week-to-week basis in tennis.
Still, it's an enforcement issue. It's like a consistency issue.
Yes.
Is the ATP saying we will not tolerate this anymore, or was this just one isolated
A
incident?
lone wolf.
Right. Now, to be sure, Dennis has been reckless for his entire career. I don't feel bad for him. Right?
You say reckless, I say brainless.
Well, I mean, Dennis has done this many times. He has a horrible temper. So do I feel that bad that he gets defaulted for something that was like, maybe not so bad? I don't feel bad, but I do hope that there is consistency in enforcement.
We're never going to see it. This stuff is pretty much all subjective. Unless you
Yeah.
have VAR in tennis. And they
But
don't
even
want
then-
they don't want that because that slows things down even more. The biggest push in tennis right now is to quicken things.
One thing that we are seeing that is consistent is, like with Rublev's default in Dubai, this time the ATP decided not to take away all of Dennis's points and prize money from this event, which is usually the default punishment. That's automatic. He gets to keep all that, but he does have to pay a fine of $36,400, like Rublev.
I think that's something that's lost on a lot of folks when it comes to these defaults.
Yeah,
That
it's a big deal.
There are other considerations. There's the points. Dennis is trying to build back his ranking. There's the money, which maybe he doesn't need that much. I don't know.
But it's a whole week's work that you lose if you're defaulted.
I'm just saying it's not the same as like a journeyman or a journeywoman.
Oh yeah, as far as the money.
Yeah, but these are considerations that folks, I feel, are unaware of a lot of times. It's like, oh, he got defaulted. Oh well.
Right. It was like, well, he was going to lose a match anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
But there is more that goes with it. Again, to reiterate, I don't feel bad. I'm just saying, let's see some consistency.
Now, Stefanos-Apostolos. This was maybe my favorite story of the last 2 weeks. It is, and it's intertwined with Paula Badosa because she had her own imbroglio.
Oh, someone's been studying their SAT words.
I'm pretty sure I used it in my master's thesis. A cultural imbroglio. These two had their moments. And what's become clear to us in maybe wondering in the past, well, this is kind of an odd pair. It feels like they're perfectly matched.
It does.
It feels like they're equally yoked. And good for them, I guess. I am just completely devoid of interest. I want to hear nothing more about these two.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about it.
Sure.
Yes.
Stefanos, after losing to Nishikori in Montreal, said about his dad, "I need and I deserve a coach that listens to me and hears my feedback as a player. My father hasn't been very smart or very good at handling those situations. It's not the first time he has done that. I'm really disappointed in him."
Imagine. But then start to realize that the apple really didn't fall that far from the tree.
Do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? My reaction when I heard Stefano say that is like, oh, okay, well, why are you telling us? We know. We've been here. But then I realize, this is your father. You don't see things the same way we do. It's going to take you a long time to come to that realization or get the strength to say enough.
They've been down this road before. They've parted before. They got back together. They have.
I know.
I'm pretty sure there was
he's parted with other coaches.
There've been issues along this. There've been issues like this in the past.
Anyway, I wanted to know, why are you telling us? Because we already know. Steph seems like he maybe has gotten some therapy or maybe some better help, because his announcement about parting ways with his dad was very measured and thoughtful. It's interesting. It's a pretty big shift in his career. And this is a relationship that we have been part of as tennis fans for a long time. Ever since he broke those headphones and cut his dad's arm at the Next Gen Finals.
Will it stick? We shall see.
Now, Badosa, you referenced their relationship starting to make more sense. To be clear, I don't care about tennis player relationships. Neither of us does. Like, Paula was asked, I guess, about 5-set best of 5 tennis this week, and she was saying, I personally don't think women are prepared to play 5 sets. Now, if she had stopped there, she wouldn't be completely wrong, because women do not train to play 5 sets. So they're literally not prepared. But she went on to say, also because of what we go through, for example, we go through periods, our bodies aren't like a man's body. Okay. Can't comment on that. I don't know what it's like. I do know that women run marathons, and women did play best of 5 in the WTA finals during the 80s. I don't think it's that cut and dry. I just don't really know why she would say something like that, like women were incapable of playing best of 5 tennis. It's nonsensical.
I don't know if we talked about this on the show before, but then there was these videos with the two of them, and Stefanos was nagging her about her weight or like what she was eating or something. It just kind of all makes sense now.
And they supposedly, it was like a joke, based on the backlash to his trad wife content. Okay, I didn't really get the joke, whatever. But at that moment, I realized, okay, I actually get it now. I get why they're together.
Which is a shame because I've lost interest in her personally, and I think she's a far better tennis player than she gets credit for. But it is what it is. That brings us to the end of episode 251. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, please send us your questions. We're going to be doing a mailbag episode or two in short order. We like to have a nice bank of questions from which to choose. Anything is on the table. Thank you for listening to episode 351. My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Twitter at tennis_John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's. Everything body serve related can be found at linktree.com/thebodyserve. That's where you can go to submit questions for the mailbag episodes. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.